I don't trust the legislature of Georgia, or frankly the courts in Georgia, or Congress, or the media to get to the bottom of this. So the other big development this week is, and it just happened a little bit before I came on to talk to you now, is there was a court filing due in court in Fulton County by the District Attorney's office there to respond to the allegations that the Democratic Party official, the elected prosecutor, Fani Willis, she's a politician, not an official. She's actually a Democratic Party politician, by the way, elected, had an illicit affair or was engaged in an illicit affair with the special prosecutor she hired to target Trump. And President Trump and initially another defendant had brought all these charges forward and suggested that those payments, some of which, according to the divorce filings, which the divorce proceeding has been shut down conveniently for Mr. Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor, who is the paramour of Ms. Willis. Wade, for instance, was able to buy trips for him and his friend, Ms. Willis, to places overseas, and I guess they went to the Caribbean and places like that. And so finally, the court wanted more information, and the brief was due today. And in the brief, which largely doesn't address kind of the key allegations in terms of the conclusions one might draw as a result of this illicit relationship, but it's confirmed there is an illicit relationship because everything was alleged until now in many ways in terms of what the nature of the relationship was. And you'll see it's a big. They filed, I think, 176-page brief. Maybe we'll put a link below so you can read their defense of what I think to be the indefensible. But for all the noise, there's an admission. It's way down in the back here. Paragraph 27 of an affidavit filed by Mr. Wade. 2022, District Attorney Willis and I developed a personal relationship in addition to our professional association and friendship. So the question is, what does that mean? What are the conclusions a court might make from that illicit relationship in this unprecedented prosecution of Trump? Remember what they're trying to do. They're trying to jail Trump and other American citizens for daring to dispute and exercise their prerogatives under the First Amendment, other federal law, and certainly the president's rights as president at the time to question the way Georgia ran the election, because Biden barely won in Georgia. And they want to put him in jail for it. It's a nakedly political prosecution, which makes it suspect enough and illicit enough to warrant shutting it down, but the courts haven't done it yet, and they're unlikely to do so. But on top of that, as we've talked about, we have this base corruption. And the question is, did the relationship they had, was he hired for improper reasons? He was hired in 2021. He goes out of his way to say the relationship began in 2022. They don't say when. Well, why was he hired to begin with? I mean, who are they fooling here? And then he says, well, we both could make, this is, by the way, the government is saying this. They're saying there's no ethical issue here. There's no ethical issue. Certainly nothing warranting dismissal of the case. And I guess the lawyers will debate it. I personally believe there's more than enough information, or in terms of these allegations, there's more than enough reason to shut this whole thing down, because I think everything that's been done has been tainted, at least in this case, has been tainted by this relationship. Because in my view, when you have a district attorney and her employee, first of all, we don't even know why he was being paid. We know technically why, right? He was hired to be special prosecutor in the Trump case. But because of the relationship, was he being paid for that reason or for another reason? I mean, and the fact that the question is out there raises questions about the whole prosecution. Was the prosecution being advanced so he would have a job so they could party together and travel together and literally feather their own nests. And I don't know what the court's going to do. Now, Fani Willis doesn't even want a hearing to take place. There was a hearing scheduled for the 15th, I think, and she wants it canceled. She says it's going to be a circus. No one should be able to ask any more questions about this. And I don't know about you, but I think there are plenty of questions to be asked about this. Did this relationship taint the case? Was this not just about politics, which to me taints the case, irredeemably so, but did the personal relationship here color everything that went on in terms of this prosecution? And I tweeted out what I thought. I don't remember what I said, so I'm going to have to look at it. I carefully reviewed today's Fulton County filing, which confirms an affair between Fani Willis and the special prosecutor she is using to try to jail Trump and other Americans based on unprecedented political charges pushed by the Democratic Party and the Biden regime. Today's filing fails to provide any substantive argument against the obvious reality that the illicit, conflicted relationship has fatally compromised the already corrupt charges against Trump. The whole case against Trump should be shut down, and the prosecutor and her paramour are subject to court ethics and criminal investigations. So they're subject to a court investigation right now, so there is a hearing set. There are ethics investigations, at least I guess you might call them ethics investigations. Legislative authorities in Georgia are looking at it, and Congress is looking at it. But I do think the whole thing needs to be shut down. And they describe the hiring as perfectly normal and appropriate in the brief. And what Judicial Watch's approach on these issues is to trust but verify. No, actually, it's don't trust but verify, because we don't trust what the government says. Even in legal briefs, there's a demonstrated record of dishonesty, deceit, and misleading information by prosecutors, especially when it comes to Trump. And so we have a new lawsuit, which we announced the other day. Here's what I said about it. Hey everyone, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton here with some breaking news. We have a new open records lawsuit against Fulton County, Georgia, over the hiring by Fani Willis of her alleged boyfriend to be a special prosecutor to target President Trump. Now, I'll tell you, this investigation of Trump is bad enough. It's an unprecedented political prosecution. But on top of that, now we've got these significant allegations of this nasty personal corruption involving Fani Willis and her alleged boyfriend. And on top of that, Fulton County is trying to hide documents about the whole mess from Judicial Watch. Well, we're not going to back down. We're pushing for the answers in court, and we'll keep you updated as events warrant. Nasty. That's right. So we sued under the Georgia Public Records Law. And it's called the Open Records Law, I think. And we had asked for these documents back in January, and we were getting the runaround. I think in the lawsuit they said, oh, we sent you a letter, it's online. It wasn't online, we couldn't find it. And we called, they wouldn't get back to us. And it's not like they don't know what we're looking for, because I guarantee you we're not the only person looking for this or the only group looking for it. This is what we asked for. All county records, as defined under law, we cite the law, related to the hiring, appointment, procurement of the professional services of Nathan Wade or his law firm as Fulton County Special Prosecutor. This includes any request for services, proposals, contracts, invoices, or correspondence, physical or electronic, related to his hiring, appointment, procurement. Any applicable procurement policies and procedures related to Mr. Wade's hiring or appointment. So there's a debate about whether he was hired properly, whether he had the qualifications, whether he was paid appropriately. Now, he denies he was paid anything other than what was he did. In this brief, he alleges, or the government alleges on his behalf, because he's basically their agent, that he's done nothing wrong. He's not making as much money as he could in the private sector. He's doing a lot of work, and all the money he's made from the county has been for work he completed unhonorably. And my view is, let's figure out how he was hired by looking at the underlying documents, and don't rely on descriptions of the work and the activity by the government. I mean, that's just not what we do. And as I said earlier in the little clip we had where I was upstairs talking about it, the fact that we can't get this information, because how much information could there be, right? It's a subset of documents. The fact that they're not giving it to us suggests that there's something to hide. And this is what Judicial Watch does. And I think some of the disclosures here that are taking place in this brief are in part due to our pushback here and the pressure we're giving them, because they've known for a month plus that we've been seeking this information. I think we began asking, it's just short of a month ago, January 11th. So they know we're out here asking for this information, and they know what Judicial Watch's reputation is, which is that we sue if we're unlawfully kept from getting documents. So I don't know about you, but I don't trust the legislature of Georgia, or frankly the courts in Georgia, or Congress, or the media to get to the bottom of this. Now, there's a lot of information to be had, and this could be only a slice of the pie in that regard, but the basic information about how this person came to be hired and the circumstances of the hiring seems to be in the public interest to have, given what they're up to there, which is the unprecedented effort to jail a former president for acts he committed as president related to the enforcement of federal election law, and for acts he committed as, quote, a citizen and candidate to ensure that the elections were being followed down there according to law and weren't subject to fraud or questions of fraud, meaning were there investigations going on. To me, this is just like Democratic payback and election interference, and it's part of a massive program and campaign by the Democratic Party throughout the land. A storm of election interference from Florida and Miami with Jack Smith with these fake charges over documents, up into Atlanta with Fani Willis, the Democratic politician trying to jail Trump with her boyfriend, up into here in D.C. with Judge Chutkan and Jack Smith and the Biden DOJ, the Biden regime again, like Fani Willis, a federal version of that claim in many ways, trying to jail Trump for opposing Biden, Putin-like behavior, up to New York with Alvin Bragg, the Soros-backed prosecutor letting those illegal aliens out while trying to jail Trump on unprecedented interpretations of the law related to a confidentiality agreement he had with a woman. It's just crazy town in terms of the rule of law. Now there are setbacks, like Fani Willis. When you seek to abuse authority, the good thing about our system, it's not so far gone that there are some rules that have to be followed, and there are setbacks when the rules aren't, and that the process sometimes provides protection as opposed to punishment. So there are issues in the down in Georgia, whether it ends the case or not, I don't think is an open question. And up here in D.C., it's been delayed. Judge Chutkan had to take the case off the calendar today. She was trying to push this trial through on March 4th. I think March 4th was the date. No more. It's gone because there's an appeal about the unprecedented charges of Trump and whether he has immunity from being prosecuted for official conduct or activities he engaged in when he was president. So now they're hoping, I think, that Alvin Bragg gets to Trump before the election. I mean, there's this kind of crazed effort and desperate effort to get Trump convicted before the election, and from their perspective, jailed. So that's where we stand. It's kind of like a slog, right, in terms of the legal battles. Fani Willis, it's kind of a tangential issue to the abusive prosecution, but it could be something that really rocks it. And who knows what's going to happen here in Washington, D.C. I mean, the courts up here are anti-Trump, so maybe the Supreme Court will do something to slow it down further, but who knows? Who knows? But again, this is what's important about Judicial Watch, is that I'm not just coming up here and commenting about it. You know, we're doing the litigation and fighting in court for the information. I mean, I'll talk about this more next week, but you know, we're still fighting Jack Smith to find out who his top people are that's working on this Trump case. I mean, they're telling us that there's no public interest in figuring out who the top officials are who are working for him. So he could have a Fani Willis in there. He could have a Peter Strzok, Lisa Page. For all we know, according to his theory of the case and the Biden Justice Department's theory, he could have Michelle Obama working on the prosecution, and he wouldn't have to tell us about it. I joke, but that's the insanity we're facing with these individuals in the Biden Justice Department and Jack Smith, who, in my view, is a rogue prosecutor. The point is, we're fighting in federal court and in Georgia and state court for the truth, to expose this corruption that's so, in my view, damaging to the future of our republic. Because if our law enforcement agencies are going to be brazenly used to jail the political opposition of those in power, I mean, we're not any better than Putin's Russia or in China or any of the other countries we're all supposed to hate. Frankly, it makes a mockery of our system now, and I think it weakens us now with our friends and our enemies, because they see in America that goes out and lectures others or tries to be a model for others in the best sense of the word as to how to govern yourselves and how to treat political dissidents and the political opposition and what happens in campaigns and such, and how you can have a debate without wanting to jail your political opponents or moving to jail your political opponents. We have to have systems of government like that. Well, we're in no position to lecture on that given what Biden's doing. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.